Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 99, The Novelization of a Movie, an interview with Jennifer Dornbush, coming to you on Thursday, September 20th, 2018. I had so much fun talking to Jennifer. I know I say that every week, but honestly, the coolest people are on this show. And sometimes I worry that you're going to think, wow, Kitty interviews a lot of her friends. Is this just the Kitty and her friends show? But after, almost over 20 years of writing, it's amazing how many really cool writers that I know and how many people have gone from zero to wow in the last 20 years. So some of these people I've known so long that we've known each other since before anything interesting was happening to any of us. We were all just starting out. And Jennifer's one of the people who has been a part of my circle of friends for probably more than 15 years. We both went through a screenwriting program called Act One Writing for Hollywood, and things have just really gone wonderfully well for her. I'm not going to give too much away. This is a really interesting interview about how Jennifer, a screenwriter, figured out ways that she could also market herself in a way that, she's the person who blah, 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 instead of just another screenwriter. Like, she found a way to brand herself and find a niche that she could really work in, which has given her more access. Plus, she's continued to use all the friendships and relationships that she's made over the years to find ways to work together with other people. And in the end, what we talked about today specifically was how she wrote a movie and then wrote the novelization of the movie. And then we talk a little bit more about how she did the process in reverse to work on selling another very cool story that she wrote. So I hope that you have a great time listening to this, regardless of whether or not you're a screenwriter. There's going to be a lot of interesting writing tips. She has some book recommendations. And if you're listening to this on Thursday, September 20th, when the show airs, the movie that she's most recently written, God Bless the Broken Road, is still in theaters in the United States as of today. Now, there's something about movie theaters I never can understand it. I'm a huge movie buff. I like planning out my weekend, though, and most of the apps and things that I use won't tell me what's coming up on Friday. They'll only tell me through Thursday, these are the movies playing. So I don't know where the movie will be playing, if it will be playing everywhere on Friday as well, but it's definitely playing tonight, Thursday, September 20th, 2018, in many of the theaters in the United States. So check your local listings. You can actually go watch the movie, read the book, see what she did, and use her advice to maybe do some things with your stories that you hadn't done yet. I hope that you have a great time and enjoy the interview. Just a quick little PS, as I was editing the podcast, I was thinking, okay, I want to read Jennifer's book too. So I went and noticed that it is 99 cents on Kindle today, Thursday, September 20th, 2018. I did not see it on sale in any other stores, but on Amazon, the Kindle version is 99 cents. So just in case you want to hurry and pick up a copy so that you can read it, and then we'll all go see the movie together, and then we'll be able to see the difference in how the same person writes a screenplay version that becomes a movie and then the novelization version. Cool. Today's guest is Jennifer Dornbush. Jennifer is a screenwriter, author, speaker, and forensic specialist. She has several crime drama series in development and recently adapted a YA novel for film. She also penned the film and novel God Bless the Broken Road. As a forensic specialist, she consults on TV shows and has authored Forensic Speak, How to Write Realistic Crime Dramas, and her first mystery novel, The Coroner, released in 2018. Jennifer frequently speaks on writing crime fiction for screen, forensic fundamentals, and death investigation. She hosts webinars on writing through Writer's Digest and has collaborated with the Writer's Store and Script Magazine to produce a video on crime writing for writers. She also hosts a YouTube channel, Forensic Fridays. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hello, Kitty. Thanks for having me.
I am so glad you're here. I've been wanting to have you on since before I actually started broadcasting the podcast. Like in November of 2017, I was making my little list of who should I have on the show.
That's cute. And here we are.
And here we are.
You made it happen.
Well, I have to say, part of the reason why I had thought of you so early into, just thinking up the podcast was because I absolutely adore your forensics book.
Thank you. I'm going to hold it up for those
who are
watching. Yes.
Yeah. It's so cool. I love the way that they did the cover, with the police tape as the.
Yeah. It's like the whole, it's the long format, which I love. And then the police tape that says forensics speak. Yeah. Yeah. They did a good job. Yeah.
Well, give us the brief 911 on how you went from, writing a forensics book to then all the other things that you've been doing. And then let's talk about your new movie.
Sure. Yeah. So, where do I start with that?
Well, you were growing up with a father who...
Yeah. I was kind of born into it. Yeah. So I grew up in Michigan, as I know you did as well. And my father was a medical examiner, and the office for the medical examiner was in our house. Wow. So everything was just there. It was just always in front of me. So I learned death investigation from a very young age, and it was kind of a family business. Helped dad with things, whether it was clerical or driving, bodies back and forth to the scene, or just listening to stories,
Wow.
Yeah, it was always around us. So I guess it was, when I started writing, I guess it was kind of a natural fit, although it kind of took me a while to realize that, when you start writing, you are trying to figure out, well, what kind of writer am I?
Right.
What am I going to write about? What do I have to say? And I kept gravitating towards these like crime, mystery, like kind of darker like things about death and life. And it just kind of took me a while to connect. Oh yeah, that was your background. I know it sounds so obvious to most people, but
yeah,
it took me a bit to figure that out.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then later I realized, and as you know, having lived and worked in Hollywood, it's very competitive, and you have to do something. Well, any kind of writer, you have to do something to brand yourself. Like what do I bring to the table and to the marketplace that nobody else can do? And so that's when I started to really connect my background and my interest in forensics. And I went back to school, got some more education, and started to really become a specialist in it, not only for my writing, but just so I could help consult with other people and help other people as well. So,
right. Because I'm sure you also grew up watching TV shows where you knew that that's not the way it happened, or maybe your dad might say, what are they doing?
Right. Watching Quincy rolling her eyes, which totally just dated me.
Yeah, well, we won't talk about, it's the reruns you were watching.
Right, reruns. Yes.
So you and I met somewhere in the, somewhere within the group of people who took the Act One Writing for Hollywood screenwriting classes. Yes. We weren't in the same year. I think you were a year or two or something.
Yeah, I was 2002.
Okay, and I was 99.
Yeah.
But that it became this community of writers who, like, we wanted to be really, really, really good, but we also wanted to have the freedom to work in and write in stories that were a part of that our worldview was a part of. So for some people that meant working in the Christian side of film or television. For other people, it was just a matter of, I would just like to write a story where the Christians aren't the ones who are the murderers and rapists and thieves. And,
let's just tamp it down a little. Yeah.
Not all Christians are the bad guys, only some of them. Right. Just like every other group of people.
Every other group of people, yeah. Yeah.
So you and I have kind of crossed paths on and off quite a lot.
Yeah.
But now I just happened to open up one of your newsletters at a time that I had time to read it and not just skim it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got another movie out. So tell us, because if people are listening to this on the day the podcast comes out, which is when most of the people will hear it, the movie is still in theaters as of September 20th, 2018. Tell us about the story. Wherever you want to start.
So it's interesting. You're right, Katie. Like, we all went through this training for various reasons, and I never wanted to write a faith-based film. Like, that just wasn't where my trajectory was going to go. Like, I wanted to live in Hollywood. I wanted to write TV and film, and I wanted to be in that marketplace, and that's what I am doing. But along the path, when I was working here, when I first moved to LA, I was working at this small entertainment company, and I met this guy who also worked at the company, and his name is Harold Kronk. And we became fast friends because he's also from Michigan and close. Yay, another Michigan. And Michigan people are so loyal to each other.
We really are.
He is from a small town not far from where I grew up. So we just kind of had this instant connection. And we also had very similar story sensibilities, and we just became friends. And over the years, we worked on a few projects together. And then he moved back to Michigan to start a studio, and he started really working in the faith-based film arena and started to direct a lot of movies for Pure Flix, and one of them being God's Not Dead, which kind of just exploded and really launched his career as a director in that genre. And we just stayed friends for like the next 7 or 8 years. And then one summer afternoon, it was about 4 years ago, I got this phone call from him, and he said, hey, I have this idea. It's just, he pitched me like 3 lines, and he's like, I'm looking for a writer. Do you want to write this with me? And I said, look, I don't write these kind of films, not because I don't like them or agree with, it's not what I do. I kill people in my fiction. That's what I do. I kill people and dig up the forensics.
And there's not a lot of that in Christian films. Maybe we need more.
I'm working on that.
All right.
So I said, but I love your idea, and I'm looking for another project, and I love your work, and we work well together. And I could use the work. Like, I could, and I'm like, he's like, I'm going to make this, my company's to make this. I promise you this is going to get made, which is huge because, as you know, so many times we write things and nothing ever happens to them. So he said, look, we're going to write a different kind of film. We're going to write a really, really good, faith-based film. I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold you to that promise. So we launched into it, and then we spent the next year, writing it, drafting it, workshopping it, getting notes from producers. In the meantime, his company was trying to find the funding, it's a whole broken road story in itself of how the project all came together. They lost their first initial funder, and that pushed production back a year. So but they finally, I know, it's just how it goes. It's the business, So finally in the spring of 2016, they had all the funding in place, and we all hopped over to Michigan and shot the film for 2 months. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And at the time they had a distribution, and it was supposed to be released that year, like around Veterans Day of 2016, because it has a very strong theme with veterans and Army and military. And so we're doing there's a whole campaign with the movie. I don't even know if you know this, but there's a whole campaign called Bless a Vet. So hashtag Bless a Vet, blessavet.com. And you can send a vet to the movies and dinner for $25. And so we're really, and also 5% of the proceeds of the film are going to the disabled American veterans. So this is very important. This is like very important, film with a social, with a social purpose.
Social conscience.
Conscience. Mm-hmm. So that was important to me as well. And I love being a part of that. Anyways, the distribution fell apart. And so then we were left with not knowing when this film was going to come out. So a whole nother year and a half goes by, and they were finally able to secure new distribution, and now it's in the theaters. So
Yay.
yeah, long road.
Yeah.
Long road. 4 years. Yeah.
That is. And yet, so I'm a fan of the song by the same name by Rascal Flatts.
Yep.
So of course I have the whole idea of your journey and the journey of the film, like in my head, based on the idea of the song. I'm guessing that there's meant to be a little bit of a correlation.
Absolutely. And and of course we have their blessing. They were going to be in it, but I think they were touring or something at the time. So we're trying to get them in as a cameo. Yeah, I mean, and it's really, I mean, the film is really about this, young woman who loses her husband in Afghanistan, and she's left to raise their daughter. And now she has to travel this broken road, and learning that the broken road actually led her closer to her faith, her family, her friends. And so we think that we're sort of being punished sometimes, or that the world's going to fall apart. And actually it's the thing that brings us closer to the things that we love and cherish.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. So the movie is in theaters at the time that you and I are talking. But then because there was the funding delay, and then there was the distribution delay, now I understand why, but I'll ask the question for everybody listening. So, but the novelization of the movie actually came out last year, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is funny. This is a funny story. So so here's the book. If you were watching, I'm holding up a copy of the actual book. Yay.
So beautiful.
And this is actually the second printing of it.
You're kidding. No. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, I'll explain why. Another broken road story. So when we started to, write, we wrote the film, and we're in the middle of shooting, and my agent said, my agent and I had this conversation about, wouldn't it be great if we could get a novelization of the film, of the book, the novel, to go along with the film, just like, again, increase the marketing and the expanse of the story. Yeah. And the producers were like, yeah, we love that idea. So my agent went off to pitch it. I had literally 3 chapters written, never had written a novel before, had no, that's not true. I written 1 novel that she was trying to shop. So this is actually the second novel that I attempted to write, but I had 3 chapters written, and I'm literally writing them on set, because she's like, I need 3 chapters. They're asking for chapters. I'm like, okay. And I'll explain how I learned how to write a novel very fast. I would not maybe necessarily recommend, but it worked, so go with it. And then I sent her the chapters, and within like a week or 2, we had 3 offers. So wow. I know, it's crazy. That's so before the film wrapped, we had accepted an offer on the novelization, and then I had 3 months to write it. So it was, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. So, okay. Just
a really fast deadline.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I was going to say, tell us why, because I know that you have at least the ability to say no when somebody suggests the deadline to your contract.
Right. Well, okay. So the reason it was so fast is because Simon & Schuster wanted the book to come out with the movie, and the movie was supposed to be coming out in November at Veterans Day. So they're like, okay, we need to rush this process. You need to have this book by the middle of August so that we can rush it into production so that they can come out together. So I did it, which actually, because we had the whole script, it's basically like a super fleshed out outline. So, and we had spent 2 years talking about the backstory of all these characters. So the wonderful thing is that now I get to put all this stuff into a book. So you get to learn more about the characters and, the backstory and all that, and put it, the scenes that you decide you have to delete or can't put in, I get to put in now. So
Yay!
It's all there. It was all there. It just was getting my butt into the seat to write it. So we did it. And then, of course, so everything's clicking along with all the publication process. Everything's going fine. And then 2 weeks before the book is going to print, is when we learned we had lost our distribution.
Oh,
so
it must have been pretty heartbreaking. Now I'm beginning to understand this broken road process.
Yeah, not only heartbreaking, but my contract stated that the book and the movie had to come out together. And so my editor said, Jen, this is now like, I guess November. It was like around late fall. And my editor's saying, Jennifer, I really hate to tell you this, but there's a very good possibility, like we're really leaning right now to not publishing your book, and you may have to pay your advance back.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, have Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
So I went into Christmas time thing, and the producer had literally no idea. We kept trying to, when is it coming? Do we know? They're like, no, we are literally starting from scratch. We have no idea. So I went into Christmas thinking, this whole project is getting shut down. Like, I'm not getting, this book isn't coming out. It's never, I've done all this work. Like, it was 2 weeks to print. Like, I had seen galleys,
Yeah.
and I just was like, okay, whatever. Christmas. I just went into Christmas, like, giving it up. All right. There's nothing I can do. A week into the new year, I think it was like January 8th, I get an email from my editor, and she's like, Jennifer, Happy New Year. Good news. We've had a meeting with the publishers, the editors, and we've decided your book is strong enough to stand on its own. I'm like, yeah. And I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Like, where your book is strong enough to stand on its own, we don't feel that it needs a movie release. We're going to print it. We're putting it out there.
Wow.
Like, oh, thank you. So, like, we're putting it out in June. And if sometime in the future, who knows when, the movie actually does come out. And granted, I had seen the movie, like the movie was in the can. So it's like crazy. But then if it does come out, then we'll re-release the book. But in the meantime, like, we're going to put it out there because we have it, and it's a good book. So that's what happened.
Oh.
So then in June of 2017, it came out, and we still had no idea. The entire 2017, no word at all on the movie. And then a couple months into this year, I got word that, yes, we have a release date. It's coming. And then, I contacted the publisher. I'm like, we have a release date. And they're like, awesome. Let's get the artwork. We're going to republish this. And so it had a second chance.
Oh man, that's amazing. And it's great because then it had I'll just call it the original cover. And then also now it has the movie cover.
Right. What I like to call the collector's edition cover, and then the movie cover.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And then they're like, and like for writers, then I got an email, I think the week of the premiere, they're like, guess what? We just got a contract with Walmart, and it's going into all the Walmarts, which is, for writers, that's a great deal,
Yeah. And so is it in Walmart right now? I missed the date that you said it. So it's already in.
It is. Yeah. It was early September, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
of 2018.
Of now. Yep. Of this month. Yep.
Excellent. Oh my gosh. Have you been to a Walmart just so you can see if your book is at that one?
I haven't, because LA doesn't have Walmarts.
Yeah. It's like, somebody told me there was some sort of
rules about box stores
rules.
in LA.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to visit your friends in Orange County, or go to the beach at Carlsbad. There's a Walmart down there.
I haven't been outside of LA since the beginning of September. But I've had people, like friends, texting me pictures, like, I just saw this at Walmart in Michigan or wherever,
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's out there.
You know what? For everybody who's listening, who is like, this sounds like a book and a movie that I'm interested in, why don't you tell us your Twitter address, and we'll just encourage people, listen, if you find the book, you buy the book or whatever, tweet a picture of yourself in the book and send it to Jennifer.
Probably the best way to link up with all my stuff is just to go on my website, which is just my name, jenniferdornbush.com, JenniferDornbush.com. And everything's there. Like, you can sign up for my newsletter. They've got all the social media accounts. There's tons of like fun resources for writers are there as well. So
yes.
Yeah. You can see a trailer to the movie.
Nice. Great. So basically everything that as we're talking about a couple of different topics here, all of it, people can find a link to it from your website, in addition to the fact that the movie has its own website and that sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. My website's kind of a great little clearinghouse for everything. And then the movie website is also there, but the movie website is very simply godblessthebrokenroad.com.
Awesome.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I have to say, so I've been really following Hallmark and their new publishing arm, Hallmark Publishing.
Oh yeah.
Their very first original novel came out. By the time we air this on September 20th, it'll have been 4 days ago. So I bought their first original novel so I can see, what kind of story they like. And I sent them one of my stories. So
good.
Because I'm a huge, even if they didn't buy it, I'm like, ooh, more Hallmark stuff. Like I've been a Gold Crown Club member since I was like 16 or whatever, I'm like, oh, I can't find a good birthday card at the Hallmark store. I can't buy a non-Hallmark card. I'm totally sold, right?
That's awesome.
But one of my favorite Hallmark movie actors is in your film.
Yes, Andrew Walker. He's such a doll. Really cool. No, he is. Yeah. Yeah. We did these little interview, what do they call, for the press kits? And I got to interview all the actors.
Fun.
For the press kits. Yeah. Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, so yeah, he's lovely. He's lovely. I'm like, how can I get him in my next project?
Right.
I need a role for Andrew.
Yeah, let me think. Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's trying to keep an eye on the time, because every once in a while I get so caught up in all of the writers talking about writing thing that I really let the interview go too long. So I apologize to all my listeners who are like, oh, please don't let it be like an hour and a half interview. For people who want to know more, I do have more questions. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about your background, how originally forensics was the way that you wanted to help yourself to stand out in the market, as far as being a screenwriter, a teacher of things that screenwriters might want to hire you for. You do webinars, you speak at groups and that sort of thing. And so now this is the first film that doesn't have, well, I guess the dead bodies are off screen, right?
Yeah.
So this was the second novel that you wrote and the first one published. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And your first novelization. And when we talked beforehand, you told me this is how I did it. So tell us about this process.
Right. So, having never written a novel before, I contacted a friend who has done this. She's a screenwriter, and she's also written novels, and she's also had novels of her screenplays written, and she's paired with another friend of mine who does the same thing, writes and adapts and writes. And so I called her up immediately, and I'm like, you have to help me, please. And she gave me a link to one of her webinars, but she also told me about this book that she wrote. So it's Cheryl, McKay, and Rene Gutteridge, and I'm holding up their book called Novelizations: How to Adapt Scripts into Novels.
Excellent.
And yes, this was a lifesaver. I immediately went on Amazon and I snatched this thing up, and I just read it cover to cover. So they have such a great, it's both of them talking, and they have this great systematic way of taking a screenplay, and then how do you actually go from script to novel and flesh things out, like what's point of view, because as screenwriters you write all points of view, but you can't do that in novels. I quickly learned that doesn't work. And whose point of view are you telling?
Write thoughts. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, you're right though. Like in screenplays you can't write thoughts, and so it was really, I had to many times give myself permission to write the inner thoughts and inner dialogue of my characters.
Right.
Talking to myself, no, it's okay, Jennifer. You're supposed to do this. You can do this, because I've been writing scripts for 10 years and holding back.
Yeah.
So anyway, this book was a lifesaver to me, and I highly recommend it. Even if you're thinking about doing the opposite, taking a novel and doing it into a screenplay, it's really helpful. So.
Because probably their advice would just, you would read it, but then try to do it backwards then, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's because then it's about paring back, and,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah.
So you were sitting on set, you wrote 3 chapters, you're finding out I need to write a book in 3 months. But in the meantime, you were actually working on the film. So tell us a little bit about your day.
Yeah. Okay. So I wasn't really working on the film. I was just kind of a casual observer. So I really didn't have.
Okay, but you were on set.
Yeah. But the good thing is, I didn't have to be on set. So I could pick and choose when I would come and go. And because where we shot's a really small town, it was easy to get around.
I'm totally familiar with where you are. I'm like, how did you even get equipment there?
Yeah. Well, Kronk has a whole studio there. So and the town, just kind of like overwhelmed us with their generosity as well. So yeah.
That's what Michigan people do.
Yeah.
We're
friendly and generous.
That's right. Oh, so you wrote 3 chapters and then they're like, okay, we need you to give us the final in 3 months. So tell us a little bit about your writing process or how you
it's very technical. I literally cut and paste the script into a Word document.
That's awesome. Dear Act One, please do our interview right now.
Hey,
I'm sending this to all of our friends who are in our program.
And it was, and then I took that book and I just started like chunking it into chapters. And then, and I had to decide too, like, I decided to tell it from 3 different points of view. So it's her, Amber, who's the main, and then her mother-in-law, who's got a lot of backstory. Like, yeah. And she's got in the film, I feel like she comes off kind of, she's angsty and she's a little harsh, but when you read the novel, you find out why, like all this stuff of like why she's feeling about all this, and it makes sense, and you have a lot more compassion for her. And then I also told it from Cody's point of view, Andrew Walker. So,
nice. Well, yeah. And if you've got Andrew Walker in your head as this is what the main guy looks like, then I think it would be easy to write.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'll be honest, it was fun because the actors were so generous with me, with asking them questions about the character. So I really learned things about their characters through them, through interviewing them and what they thought about the characters that I actually inserted into the novel as well, which that's kind of like, who gets that opportunity,
right.
That's really rare.
Yeah, we know that actors have to come up with the things that aren't on the page for them to feel like this is why I'm going to do it this way. But for then the writer of the screenplay to say, tell me more about what you thought was going on in his or her head, and then I'm going to incorporate it into the book. I mean, how exciting.
So cool. I know. I mean, it was such a blessing because they had such amazing insights that I never thought about as the creator of these characters, and it was such a gift. Yeah. So it's a little secret sauce to the book.
Nice. Now, tell us a little bit about your work with Harold. So he had the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
He had the seed of the idea and maybe, a couple paragraphs. And so honestly, like, we just started, because I was in LA and he was in Michigan, the way it started the first couple of months is just long phone calls, bouncing or emails back and forth, bouncing back and forth about fleshing out the characters. And I want this, scene. He, as a director, he was thinking very much in terms of set pieces.
Sure.
Like, I want to go to the racetrack and I want to have, this, and I want to do that. And I'm like, okay. And so then I'm really super good at structure. And so then I was able to, like, obviously help flesh out the story, but just like, okay, that, like a puzzle piece that goes there and that should go there. And then when we wrote the first draft, we were actually both in Michigan. I went back home.
Aww.
Yeah. It was around Christmas time. And we sat in a coffee house for like almost a week. And our deadline was Christmas Eve. And because he had promised a draft to the producers on Christmas Eve. And so we just cranked it out, and we just like have all these discussions back and forth. It was just like, sitting across, we each had our scenes or pages that we were working on. And then we could just look up, okay, what do you think about this? And then da, 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 da. Okay, well, what if they did this? Okay, da, 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 da. So it was this really like back and forth kind of flow.
Yeah.
A lot of coffee, a lot of pastries.
Yeah. So we had I had Lee and Jan Batchelor on a couple of months ago talking about their writing process and collaboration and stuff. Now, their process and yours and Harold's process is like really different. So it sounds like you're saying that you had decided in advance, like he's going to write these few scenes, you're going to write these few scenes, and then you'll just keep writing, and then you'll finish and then choose more scenes that each of you will write individually.
We basically just, divide and conquer, honestly. Yeah. We kind of pick and choose, like, well, like let's say you just have act 1 and there's, 10 scenes. We would look through it and like, which ones do you want? Okay, well, which ones do you want? What are you feeling, like you really, because there's some scenes or characters you feel like a little more connected to. And so we just kind of divided it that way. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Yeah. I'm always trying to find what process or what collaborative process or what research process that other people have tried, so that listeners can be like, oh, I haven't tried it that way. Maybe I'll try that. So
yeah. And then once you get the first draft down, then we would both go over it like separately and make notes separately, and then come together and talk through the notes that we had made.
Excellent.
And then again, divide and conquer. So, okay, you take the first act, I'll take half of the second, and then you take the second half of the second, and then I'll take the third, to do the next round. Yeah, that's kind of how it worked back and forth.
Wow. And so going back to the novelization portion again, so how did the book help you? Was there any specific things that you have in mind, or was one of the biggest things just using the screenplay as the outline and fleshing it out, as you say?
Cut and paste method. Okay. I'm not sure I understand how.
Yeah. I just realized that I didn't say, how did you use Rene and Cheryl's book to help yourself and to feel like, okay, I think I have a better idea now of what I'm going to do, and therefore this is how I'm going to try to write it.
You know what? Probably one of the most helpful, because I'll back up to say the structure's already there. Like when you're structuring a novel or a screenplay, I like Save the Cat, or like a classic Joseph Campbell kind of hero's journey structure. Right. Like we were taught, like Jan and Lee taught us. And so that's there. You don't have to worry about that. The thing the chapter I probably read over and over, and as evidenced by all my underlining marks, is chapter on point of view.
Right.
Because I really didn't get, do I do it in first or third? How many points of view do I show? It was really tricky for me to kind of understand that. And I ended up, look at this. There's just, for those of you who can't see, almost the whole 2 pages are underlined.
Yeah.
I was just eating this up. So and dialogue, I don't have a problem with dialogue. Like dialogue is easy for me, and I could just pretty much drop most of the dialogue from the script and then just add more. Like it's easy to add more dialogue. Like again, I kind of had to give myself permission, because again, in screenplay writing, you're trying to be so terse and so poignant and meaningful with every piece of dialogue. But with novels, you can just kind of like, not to be vulgar, but kind of vomit a little bit more with the dialogue. You can kind of they can say more things, and you
can add all the stage direction.
Yes, exactly. So I guess for me, and it was that inner monologue, and definitely the like the interior thoughts and the point of view. I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, with the idea that you had this really tight deadline, And it was because originally you had a distribution date and then for the movie, and then that kind of went out the window. Was there ever a point where you were literally watching the final cut of the film and looking over your book and trying to make them the same? Or did you allow yourself a little bit of freedom to just, the story, you're not going to like watch the film and do a play-by-play of the film?
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't have that opportunity because I didn't see the final cut of the film until probably November of 2016. And the book had already been into the publisher by August. So,
yeah.
But what I did have access to, which was super helpful, I asked for all the dailies.
Oh, great.
Yes. So I had access to all the dailies. So I would spend, and this is why it was nice because I didn't have to be on set. It was my choice. So I could spend a lot of time looking at the dailies and and that actually helped a lot with description. I really didn't talk much about description, but you were saying like stage direction, and description is one thing you really have to dive into. And so that kind of helped me to describe what the place looked like or what else was going on in the scene,
Right. Oh, and then it's not just like you and I write our novels, our other original novels out of memory of experiences of living in Michigan. But here we're watching a scene where the leaves are this color and the sky is that color and the trees and the houses, everything looks like this. And
yeah, it's really cool.
Nice.
Really cool. And
wow.
Yeah, like I remember there's a scene where they go to a coffee house on a date, and it's called Harry's Coffee House. And we actually had to create it because it was an empty storefront. It was literally bare. And the art director, and of course in the script you just write Harry's Coffee House, a hipster looking place, blah, blah, blah. It's like one sentence. Where I remember like walking into that store as the art department was sort of doing the final touches before shooting the next day. And I just like wanted to cry. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is a place I would want to hang out every single day. Nice. And we actually had people walk in. I was standing there and some guy walked in and said, "Hey, are you guys open? I'd love a cup of coffee."
Yes. What a compliment.
And I felt so bad having to tell him this was a movie set and we had no coffee for him.
Right.
The look of despair on his face. Yeah. Like, I'm so sorry. This is not a real business. It looked real. And so to be able to describe that I never would have, I'd have to come up with something in my own mind, but then it was there and I could just describe it the way they had created it. So.
Yeah, because a team of people worked together to come up with this amazing look for what you sort of had in your head, but you hadn't actually been able to.
Yeah. Watch the movie just for the coffee house. It's so cool.
All right, I'm going to have to, we'll have to talk offline about how in the world I can see the movie while I'm over in Sweden.
Let's get you a link or something.
Yeah. Well, eventually it'll be on DVD, right?
Yeah, or Netflix or Amazon or something.
Oh, this is so cool and so interesting. Now, we're going to have to probably stop talking soon, even though I don't want to, because I love talking to you about all these writing things. But so that was the novelization process. But then you also have your own original novel that has come out also very recently. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that's this one. For those of you who can't see it, I'm holding up a book called The Coroner.
Nice.
And this was actually the first novel I wrote. And this I also adapted from a screenplay because I originally wrote it as a television series.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, this was the first, actually, to go way back. I actually started this project in 2002 with Act One. This was my first script that I wrote.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How exciting.
Isn't that crazy?
That is. We have to tell all of our friends.
I know. And then I slowly developed it more into a television series because it's more of like the body of the week, the procedural, the female medical examiner who goes back to her hometown to care for her father who's dying, and he's the medical examiner and she has to take over his business kind of a thing. And so it's kind of stepping back into an old life that she had run away from in the past. But anyway, yeah. So you know how it is, Kitty, like you have all these, I was writing and writing and writing for years, and all the screenplays start to stack up, all your work, and you're using them as samples, but most of them maybe aren't going anywhere. And I'm like, these are good stories. I want to do something like with these. And so I started novelizing a lot of my favorite screenplays.
Yeah.
And this is the one I started with.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Now, has your dad read this book? Does he see the joy of, oh, has he ever said, is this what you think might happen? You'll leave Hollywood and come back home and take over my business?
He knows better.
Oh,
no, but mostly his comments were, yeah, you got a few things wrong here. You should have me read the draft of your next one.
Well, that's good. You got 97% of it right.
Yeah, good.
That's pretty good considering you don't technically work in the business at this point.
But it's my bad. I am going to have him read the next one because this is a series. So I'm working on penning the second one right now. To the publisher next week.
Oh my goodness. And you took time to talk to us.
But yeah.
So you wrote it as a TV series. It didn't sell. So you decided to novelize it. But then your agent. That's right. That's what I meant to say. You're right. It hasn't sold yet. So your agent and the publisher decided to go ahead and do a series with this story.
Yeah. Yeah. I said, you know what? She's like, I pitched it to her. She's like, that's a fabulous idea for a book. Definitely write that. And so I did. That was my first novel. And, we had a lot of bites on it, but it did take 2.5 years, at least maybe longer, to find the right publisher. Because we had a lot of bites and a lot of rejections. That's the journey of the writer. And she never gave up, which I kind of given up, because I just kind of moved on to other things. And then one day I got this email from her. She's like, we have a bite from this publisher called Crooked Lane. And I started looking them up and I'm like, I love this publisher. This is a perfect fit. Oh. And I got this amazing editor, and I call it script weary, and maybe where I'm just tired of a certain story, and you don't know how to fix things anymore. You don't, and part of you doesn't even care anymore. And I had this amazing editor who read it and then gave me these incredible notes that took me a while to incorporate. Like there were some pretty major changes, but she totally nailed it. She totally got that thing in shape for me. Oh. And I'm so grateful. Cause I was manuscript weary. I was. And, so I'm grateful that it took as long as it did to find the right fit.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. And then also, every year that goes by, every piece of work that you write, no matter what kind of work it is, you're constantly becoming a better writer. Mm-hmm. So then when somebody says, yes, but I need to give you some notes on it, you're like, great, because I'm actually a better writer and it's going to be a better piece.
Yeah. I was like, please give me the notes, like begging her for good notes. And they were really good notes. So
that's great.
Yeah, so that's been a journey.
Yeah.
But the fun kind of tail end to that, and I want to encourage writers, especially novelists, which I'm guessing is a lot of the audience out there, is I'll be honest, like one of the reasons I started doing the novels is to have an IP, which is intellectual property, and I look at the landscape here in LA, and I'm just going to venture this guess of probably 80 to 90% of what's made is from IP. It's from books. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to play this game a little differently.
Yeah.
I'm going to make some books instead of reverse this thing,
That's right.
And it's starting to work. So we are actually taking the coroner out on, we're drafting a pitch for television, and we're going to start to take it out. So
it could just come right back around full circle.
Hopefully. That's the idea.
Oh. And the other thing that's exciting about this particular moment in time is that there are so many new companies, or not new companies, but companies doing new things.
Mm-hmm.
So, the idea that it's not three networks. It's not three networks plus cable. It's three networks plus cable plus Netflix plus Amazon plus
Facebook, Google. They're all getting in the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. This is so exciting for you.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But
in the meantime, you're going to keep writing, of course.
Yeah. There's lots more going on. But
yeah,
I think novelists, comic book writer, anybody who's creating an IP should be very encouraged and should really leverage that, because it's this weird thing here where like Hollywood elevates authors and creators of comic books, and anybody who's got an IP, like somehow you're on this other level. And
all
right, go with it.
Yeah. Right. Why not take the advantage while you can?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's just remind people where they can find you and your books. And if they're listening on the day this comes out, the movie may still be in the movie is in the theater for sure on Thursday, September 20th, because I went to the website and I saw it's at, I don't know, there was at least a few dozen cities that was playing it for at least one more day. And then you never can tell. It may be picked up for another week at different places. Yeah.
You never know. Try Fandango, but yeah.
Okay, so it's God Bless the Broken Road.
Mm-hmm. GodBlessTheBrokenRoad.com for anything movie. And then if you want to plug into anything on my end, go to JenniferDornbush.com.
Excellent. They can find your social media. They can also find the movie website if they couldn't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Sign up for the newsletter. There's a little blog. There's lots of fun resources and little seminars and things on writing and
your nonfiction book
and links. Links to all the books.
Brilliant. Oh, this has been great. Thank you so much. This has been a really interesting interview.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kitty. And I wish everybody out there so much success. Keep writing, keep persevering, and God bless all of your roads.